Hello, welcome to a new video. Today we're calling me out. I wasn't going to do this video and then I thought, no, do you know what? Maybe, now this could backfire, maybe if I publicly call myself out on this, I might do something about it. This is all of the series that I have started and need to either catch up or finish. So I've done a spreadsheet courtesy of Tori's layout. Some of these I don't own the series, but I've started them and want to continue them, whether it be like me getting them from the library or me buying them. I have a lot here. Some of them I physically cannot get to on my shelf, so I'll just be putting a picture here. And I will not be including the series that I've started and already caught up on. So for example, I'm going to use the Realmbreaker series by Victoria Aveyard. I have read the first 2 books and book 3 isn't out until end of next month. So I'm not including that and those type of series, but there's a lot of series here. So we're just gonna get started. So first up, we have All the Stars and Teeth series by Adeline Grace. I've read the first book. I have not yet read the second book. I don't own these. But I do want to read the second book because I really enjoyed the first. Then we have Belladonna series by Adeline Grace. Again, I've read the first book. The second book came out last year. I want to read it. I haven't read it yet. Next up, we have the Polar Bear Explorers Club. Now, there is currently 6 books in this series. I've read the first 2. I forgot to say, this is by Alex Bell. I really enjoyed the first 2 books. I don't own them. I got the first 2 from the library, so I will continue to get them from the library, but I want to finish this series. Next up, now for all of these, or most of them, I'll be holding up the first book in the series, which is usually the one I've read. I'm holding up the 3rd book. So this is Count Your Lucky Stars by Alexandra Bellefleur. I'm holding up the 3rd book. This is the one I actually need to read. So I don't own the first book yet. I own the 2nd and 3rd books. I have read books 1 and 2. So this is the Written in the Stars trilogy by Alexandra Bellefleur. This is the 3rd book. I need to read this. This is happening this year for definite. Next up is another series I don't own, but I got the first book from the library and really enjoyed it. It is the 6 Tudor Queen series by Alison Ware. I've read the first one, which is obviously Catherine of Aragon. I have 5 others to read. I will get all of these from the library as well. Next up is the Dark Deep series by Ali Condé and Brendan Reichers. I have read the first 2 books. I just need to read the 3rd book. I own the 3rd book, just haven't read it yet. Next up is one I couldn't get to the first book because it is way over there, but I need to read Hero at the Fall by Elwyn Hamilton. This is the 3rd book in the Rebel of the Sands trilogy. I've read the first 2 books. This is getting read this year because this is on my 12 books for 2024. So this will be read this year. Next up is the Starbound series by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. These Broken Stars, I have read this. I read this last year. I will be reading at least the 2nd book this year because I really enjoyed this first book and I need to see where it goes next. I have the 2nd book. I do not have the 3rd book yet, but I have started it and I will continue. Next up, we have Jinxed by Amy McCulloch. I read the first book back in like 2016, 2017. I need to read the sequel this year. The sequel's called Unleashed. I will read it. I need to read it. It's going to happen. Maybe. Next up, we have The House at the Edge of Magic by Amy Sparks. I have read this first book. I have the 2nd and 3rd book. I got the 3rd book for Christmas. I have read them. I have read the first one. I now own the 2nd and 3rd. I need to finish this series because it's such a cute middle grade and I really enjoyed this first one. Next up, another one I don't own. I've borrowed the first 2 books off of Ash, and the 3rd one I actually have the e-arc of. It came out and I haven't read it yet. It's the Brightfall series by Ashley Herring Blake. I loved Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I loved Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail. I need to read Iris Kelly Doesn't Date, and I will be reading it this year. Next up is the Supernatural Investigation series by B.B. Alston. I've read Amari and the Night Brothers. Amari and the Great Game will be read this year because, again, it is on my 12 books for 2024. My friends were good to me and I appreciate it. Next up is the What If It's Us series by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. I have read the first book. I need to read the second. It might happen this year. Next is another one. I can't get to the books on my shelves. It's the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers. I have read the first 3 books. I have been putting off the 4th book because I wasn't a fan of the 3rd book. Now, I loved books 1 and 2, and I've been putting off book 4 because I didn't like book 3 that much. But I will read it eventually because I would like to complete this series. Next up, we have the Isles of Storm and Sorrow series by Bex Hogan. I have read Viper. I have read Venom. I need to read Vulture. And then I've completed this series. I loved the first 2 books. I don't know why I haven't read book 3 yet. Another series I need to continue is the Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson. I have read the first book. I have these on Audible. I actually have the first 2 physically as well. I need to read the 2nd book and the 3rd book and the 4th book. I need to continue this series because I really enjoyed the first book. And Sophie Aldred narrates them, and I love her as a narrator, so I'll get there. Next up is the Defy the Night series by Bridget Kemmerer. I have read the first book. Absolutely loved it. I need to read the 2nd book because the 3rd book comes out this month. So I need to continue this series. Next up is the Bloodweb Chronicles series by Cadis Knight. So I have read Vampires of Moscow and I have read Witches of Barcelona. I've even read the novella Sirens of Los Angeles. I need to read Goblins of Lapland. I will say this might wait until December, but I'm gonna read it this year. Next up is the Twin Crowns series by Catherine Doyle and Catherine Webber. I've read Twin Crowns. I need to read Cursed Crowns before Burned Crowns comes out. There's a theme here. I don't know if you can tell. Next up is the Chronicles of Alice series by Christina Henry. I've read the first book and I've read every other Christina Henry book other than Horseman and the 2nd and 3rd book in this series. And this was one of the first ones I ever got. I need to continue the series because I really enjoyed Alice. Next up is the All Souls trilogy series by Deborah Harkness. I read the trilogy when it was a trilogy. And now there is also Times Convert, and then there's a 5th book coming out this year. So I need to read Times Convert before book 5 comes out. Next up is the Starfell series by Dominique Valente. I've read the first 2 books in this series. I need to read books 3 and 4. I own them all. I just need to read them. Next is the 6 Crimson Cranes series by Elizabeth Lim. I have read book 1. I need to read Dragon's Promise and Her Radiant Curse. I don't know if Her Radiant Curse is actually part of the series or just set in the same world, but I've put it on my spreadsheet because I need to read it. Then we have the Married to Magic series by Elise Kovar. I have read the first book, A Deal with the Elf King. I need to read, I have books 2 and 3. I need to read them because I think book 4 is out now. And then I think there is a 5th book coming out this year as well. So I need to read them. Next, we have the Old Kingdom series by Garth Nix. I have read the first 3 books and then I've got the short stories and then 3 other books to read. I want to continue this series this year because I really enjoyed the first 3 books. Next is Malice by Heather Walter. I've read the first book. I need to read the sequel. The Folk of the Air series by Holly Black. I have read the main trilogy. I need to read How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories so that I can then read the sequel series. It will happen at some point this year, maybe. Then we have the Spinster Club series by Holly Bourne. I've read the first book. I need to read books 2, 3 and the novella set after. Lord of the Rings series by J.R.R. Tolkien. I've read the first book. I've read The Hobbit. I've read Fellowship of the Ring and I've read Two Towers. I need to read Return of the King. The Edge of Everything by Jeff Giles. I read this years ago. I need to read the sequel. The Blood and Ash series and Fire and Flesh series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I need to read book 2 in this series, book 5 in this series, and then I think book 3 in this series is coming out this year as well. So I need to catch up. Then we have the Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend. I have read the first 2 books in this series. I need to read book 3 because I believe book 4 is coming out this year or next year. So I need to do that. Then we have the Seekers series by Josie Jeffrey. I've read Mayday. I need to read the 2nd book, which I have the ebook of, so that I can read the 3rd book when it comes out, if it hasn't already come out. I am starting to speed through these because I've got a lot to get to. Next up is the Fortuna Sworn series by KJ Sutton. I believe this series is finished. There's 5 books altogether. I've read the first 2. I need to read the rest. Then we have the This Poison Heart series by Kaylin Bayron. This is a duology. I've read the first book. I need to read the 2nd. Next, we have another one that's too far back on the shelf to get to. It is the Relentless series by Karen Lynch. I've read the first book. I need to read books 2 and 3, and then there's more books after that. Next is The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. Again, it's a duology. I need to read, well, I think it's a duology. It might be a trilogy. I'm not even sure at this point, but I've read the first book. I need to read the 2nd. Next we have Battalion of the Dead series by Kat Dunn. I've read the first book. Again, I need to read books 2 and 3. Next we have the Babysitter's Coven series by Kate Williams. I think there's 3 books in this series. I've read the first one. I own the second one, so I need to read it. Then we have A Deal with the Demon series by Katie Robert. I have read The Dragon's Bride. I need to continue this series badly. Next is Small Spaces series by Catherine Arden. I've read the first book. I need to read books 2 and 3. I'm probably not going to read book 4 though, because it involves clowns. Next we have the American Royal series by Catherine McGee. I've read books 1 and 2. I need to read books 3 and 4. The Dragon Realm series by Katie and Kevin Sang. I've read the first book. I need to read books 2 to 5. Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerry Maniscalco. I've read books 1 and 2. I need to read books 3 and 4. Slayer by Kirsten White. I've read the first book. I need to read the second. Strange Worlds Travel Agency by L.D. Lipinski. I have read books 1 and 2. I need to read book 3. We have the Mead Mishap series by Kimberly Lemming. I've read That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. I need to read books 2 and 3. Amelia Fang by Laura Ellen Anderson. I've read the first 2 books. I need to continue this series. The Dreamland Billionaires series by Lauren Asher. I've read the fine print. I need to read books 2 and 3. The Paper and Heart Society by Lucy Powery. I've read books 1 and 2. I need to read book 3. The Raven Cycle series by Maggie Stiefvater. I've read books 1 and 2. I will be reading book 3 this year because it's on my 12 books for 2024. And then I'll need to read book 4. The Wolves of Mercy Falls by Maggie Stiefvater. I have read the first book, Shiver. I need to read the rest of the series. Merciful Crow by Margaret Owen. I've read the first book. I need to read the second. Ship of Shadows by Maria Kuznia. I've read the first book. I need to read the second. The Study series by Maria V. Snyder. I've read the first book. I own the second and third. And then I'll need to continue on after that because there's lots more books. The Christmas series by Matt Haig. I've read the first book. I need to read books 2, 3, and then there's a novella as well. The Sin Eater's Daughter by Melinda Salisbury. I've read the first 2 books. I need to read the third. The Rhaenyra Revelations series. So this is by Michael J. Sullivan. I have read the first volume, which is the first 2 books. I need to read the other 2 volumes. Each volume has 2 books in it. So I've got 4 books left in this series. Pinch of Magic series by Michelle Harrison. I've read the first 3 books. I need to read the 4th. Catfishing on Catnet. I think this is just called Catnet series by Naomi Kritzer. I've read the first. I need to read the second. Train to Impossible Places by P.G. Bell. I've read the first 2 books. I need to read the third. Heroes of Olympus by Rick Riordan. I've read the first book. I need to read the other 4, which will be happening. The Stillhouse Lake series by Rachel Kane. There is 5 books in this series. There's 6 books in this series. I have the first 5, but I've only read the first 1, so I'll need to continue that. The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. There is 3 books and the 4th is coming out. I have read the first 2. The Rain Wild Chronicles by Robin Hobb. I've read the first 1. I've got 3 more to go. The Extinction Trials by S.M. Wilson. I've read the first book. I need to read the other 2 in the trilogy. The Snow Like Ashes series by Sarah Rash. I've read the first one. Need to read the other 2 in the trilogy. Set Fire to the Gods by Sarah Rash and Kristen Simmons. I've read the first one. I don't know if this is a duology or a trilogy, but I have the second book. The Stranded series by Sarah Daniels. I've read the first book. I need to read the sequel. Alchemical Journey by Seanan Maguire. I've read the first book. I need to read the second. The prequel series to Spellslinger. I have read the first book. I need to read the other 2 in the trilogy. The Villain series is the biggest series on this list. I think this is a 11-book series. However, I have read the first 8. And I only own book up to book 9. Mirage by Sumaya Dade. I've read the first book. I need to read the sequel. The Locked Tomb by Tamsin Muir. I've read the first book. I need to read the other 2. The Thrawn Ascendancy series by Timothy Zahn. I've read the first 2. I need to finish this trilogy. The Magpie Society by Zoe Sugg and Amy McCulloch. I've read the first book. I need to read the second. The Hollow Crown duology by Zoraida Cordova. I've read the first. I need to read the second. Wranglestone by Darren Charlton. I've read the first. I need to read the second. Game of Thrones. I have read... There's 7 books out. I've read the first one. I need to read the rest. I own them all. The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Mayer. I have read Cinder. I need to read the other 3 books plus the 2 novellas. The Celestial Kingdoms series by Su Lin Tan. I've read Daughter of the Moon Goddess. I need to read Heart of the Sun Warrior. And then there is a short story collection coming out this month, I think, or next month. And then finally, this, I lied before, this is the biggest series on my list. Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. I have read the first 6 and I have book 7 to read. Yes, I have book 7 to read, but this is a 22 book series. But I have said I'm going to read these as they come out in this special edition paperback. So I currently only need to read book 7, but book 8 will be available for pre-order soon. Editing Becca here, just coming in to say I forgot 3. Even though they're on the spreadsheet, I forgot them. So first up we have The World of Lunaria by Elwyn McRae. I have 2 copies of Marauder because this is the original edition and this is the new edited edition. I have read Marauder. I do need to read books 2, 3 and 4. And then the other 2, I need to read the prequels that came out after. So I need to read the first To Die at the End by Adam Silvera. Obviously this is the prequel to They Both Die at the End. And then a chunky one that will be read this year is A Day of Fallen Out by Samantha Shannon, which is the prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree. Let's go back to past me. And that is it. That is almost 90, if not 90. I can't tell you the exact number because my spreadsheet does have the series that I've started but I'm already caught up on. So, and I can't remember how many series there was. I think there's like 3 or 4 series. So about 90 series on this. I am sorry for rushing through with that, but if I had stopped and talked about every single book, I would have been here in an hour still. And you don't want to see that. I don't want to edit that. So that was a very speedy series. I need to continue or finish. I am going to be doing another one of these videos for series I own but haven't started, because that's going to probably be another big video. I don't think that video will be as big. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed my pain. Let me know in the comments if you think I should prioritise reading any of these series, because I honestly don't know where to start with some of these. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Bye!